In July of 2017, Seattle observed a major milestone in its history, the 100th anniversary of the Lake Washington Ship Canal and the Hiram-Chittenden locks. The canal and the locks really helped Seattle grow into one of the world's great maritime cities, so when they first opened in 1917, the city celebrated in a big way with a boat parade on July 4th that went all the way from the locks to Lake Washington. On July 9, 2017, we held a similar boat parade to commemorate the centennial of that event and to remind ourselves how important the canal has been to Seattle during the last 100 years. When the Ship Canal officially opened in 1917, it was the culmination of 63 years of dreams, debates, and false starts and hard work. So Seattle was really ready to celebrate. It was a tough time to throw a party, however, because the United States was just entering World War I. Ships were being commandeered and troops were heading overseas. But the Seattle Chamber of Commerce was determined to lift the city's spirits and celebrate the engineering marvels of the locks and the canal. So they joined forces with neighborhood organizations to plan picnics, sporting events, fireworks, and so on throughout the 4th of July. The biggest event of the day was the boat parade, led by a steamship called the Roosevelt. The ship was quite famous at the time because it carried Admiral Robert Peary on his expedition to the North Pole in 1909. In 1917, she was on her way to Alaska to work for the U.S. Bureau of Fisheries, and so she came to Seattle to help us celebrate our new canal. She came in from Puget Sound and entered the locks. Politicians and naval officers made speeches from her deck. After that, she led 200 boats through the Fremont Cut into Lake Union, then through the Montlake Cut to Lake Washington, and finally down to Leschi. According to local newspapers, close to half of the city's population showed up to watch the parade. People cheered, brass bands played, and up in the sky, a biplane from Bill Boeing's fledgling airplane company was flying around. The day ended with fireworks over the canal, and Seattleites went home feeling proud of the bright future they saw ahead for the city. In the 100 years since the Ship Canal opened, it has had a huge impact on Seattle. So as the Centennial approached, a lot of us wanted to honor it with some really special events that we could share with our community. I had the pleasure of working on the biggest event we planned, which was our own 21st century version of the boat parade. Unfortunately, the ship that led the original parade, the Roosevelt, is long gone. Her spirit was present in our parade, however, in a couple of ways. A local model maker created a beautiful miniature version of the Roosevelt, which was on display at the Ballard Locks. We also found a similar vessel named the Adventurous to lead the 2017 parade. The Adventurous was built in 1913 for another Arctic expedition much like the Roosevelt. Today, she is a National Historical Landmark ship used for educational cruises by a nonprofit organization called Sound Experience. One of our biggest goals was to find vessels that were part of the original parade in 1917, not very many left, and bring them back to the canal. I'm proud to say that we found two of them, the Glory Bee and the Honey Boy, now known as Kewadin. Both beautiful boats and still going strong after more than 100 years. Following these boats was the steamship Virginia 5. She was built in 1921, just a few years after the Ship Canal opened. She represents a very important part of Seattle's maritime culture. She is the last of the Great Mosquito Fleet, which buzzed busily around Seattle for many decades, carrying passengers and cargo as the city grew up around its waterways. During the parade, the Virginia 5 carried quite a few descendants of Hiram M. Chittenden, the Army Corps of Engineers officer who designed the Ship Canal and for whom the locks are named. Some of my favorite boats in the parade were quite small, but very special. One was the Native American canoe from the Center for Wooden Boats. Native Americans actually used the route of the Ship Canal for centuries before the first settlers came here. So they really pointed the way for us, and we were honored to have them join us in the parade. We also had two rowing shells from the University of Washington. One was manned by current Washington men's oarsmen, and the other by alumni rowers going all the way back to 1958. Alongside the shells were two very historic launches, including the Connie, which was Coach Al Ulbrichtsen's launch when he trained the famous Boys in the Boat crew to victory in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Husky crews have trained in the Ship Canal since the beginning, so it was thrilling to see the UW fleet in the parade. The canal has also been important for other kinds of recreational boating. A lot of boat shops opened on Lake Union right after the canal was built, and they started building cruising boats that became world famous and are absolutely beautiful. The parade included several of these from the Classic Yacht Association's Pacific Northwest fleet.
Look at that lineup coming. Oh, it's just fantastic. My favorite sailboat.
The other big side of the Ship Canal is the maritime industry and the workboats that have helped Seattle grow over the years. These were represented in the parade by several tugs and other hard-working boats. The original boat parade in 1917 went all the way through the Montlake Cut and down Lake Washington to Leschi. Our parade was a little shorter. It ended in Lake Union, where the boats made a grand circuit of the lake with a fireboat spraying water high into the air. It was kind of appropriate to end the parade here because of all the amazing growth that has been happening in the South Lake Union area. Just like in 1917, Seattle today is going through big changes and welcoming a lot of newcomers to the city. We hope the newcomers and the longtime residents alike enjoyed our Centennial Boat Parade. We hope the people came away from the parade with a smile and a new appreciation for how important the Ship Canal and the waterfront are to our great city.